Wow. Wow. What have we just seen, guys? The World Cup delivers yet again for drama. Oh my God, there's so much to talk about in this game. So much to talk about. Um, but wow. A game like that ending in with a penalty that I think is controversial. We'll talk about that. A few posts. Ronaldo finally scoring in a knockout round in the World Cup. Ramos coming on for him and scoring the winner. Croatia almost had it. Croatia almost had it again. Their goal getting knocked out. What a story. So many things to talk about. So many things to talk about. Um, I think the first thing that I would like to say is this was the team. So I predicted England to win the tournament as a Frenchman, right? I don't know if you guys can see. Um, but so it hurts my soul that I think England might win it. And I had a little bit of hope during the Congo game, but realistically, Kane is Kane, man, and there's nothing we can do about it. Um, and but despite that, I felt that the team that could eliminate France the best was this team going into the tournament. For me, there were two teams that could really pose a major threat to France's system and France's way of playing were Portugal and Spain, because Portugal and Spain have a midfield that will hold the ball more than France can, right? France will not have the ball against a team like that, right? Now, the best way that you can stop this France team from being as good as it is by stopping the midfielders from having the ball and therefore feeding the attackers. If you stop the ball from getting to the attackers, which obviously is our strength, then we're in trouble. But there's many reasons, right? When you look at this team, as a PSG fan, I see what he does on a daily. I see what he does on a daily. I see what he does on a daily. Everybody knows what he did this year. Um, So, and everything seems to have a structure. Everything seems to make sense. And if, well, my video on Portugal was in French, but um, it all makes sense when you look at it, right? He has the right zone to occupy. I'm gonna go here. He has the right zone to occupy here. That's his best position. He can control the game from the back, right? Make sure that they keep possession. He can occupy a whole flank. He in his position can feed the striker. Leao is an explosive winger. He's not the one I would have picked necessarily for that team. I definitely would not have picked Neto. But my first selections were Bernardo Silva and Joao Felix, which I'm realizing is still a problem, right? Um, but there's a problem with this team, right? I think it's obvious. They haven't conceded many goals, although for a team this magnitude, the amount of goals they did concede was too many, right? I think it's one per game, if I'm not mistaken, which is not horrible, but not great. But going into this, I didn't think that their defensive aspect was necessarily their strength of Portugal because I don't personally know how good he is. I thought he was good today, though. To be fair, he was good. He was good. I think actually the defense quite impressed me in this tournament for Portugal. The real disappointment is that front line, right? Whoever he's decided to put in here, Martinez, he hasn't figured it out, right? He really thinks that the problem lies within the wingers not feeding Ronaldo enough, and he keeps searching and he keeps searching. And he put Neto on the left once. Today he put him on the right. There's a we'll talk about it, but before everything, get back to the story. Ronaldo happy, relieved. Modric and Croatia disgusted by the lack of luck, really. The lack of things going their way. I can understand frustration Definitely because of the penalty, for example. I thought, like it was, it did feel a little bit, like the big calls were going against Croatia constantly. I don't think the refereeing was necessarily bad. However, I do think there was a mistake in the penalty. I don't blame the referee. Actually, I do blame the referee because he saw the footage. I talked to some of my friends who seemed to think it was a penalty, and I trust their judgment. I trust what they think as well. I'm still pretty convinced. Having re-looked at it that I thought it was soft, right? But we'll get into it. Perisic scores the opener. Great goal. Perisic is so clinical for Croatia in the World Cup. It's crazy. Yeah, again, he clutches up. Um, Croatia looked like they were going to do it. The first half, the first half, Croatia were dominate. No, sorry. Croatia, it was more Portugal, right? It was more Portugal. In fact, I really disliked the game that Croatia were playing. It was a lot of, flopping, dirty fouls. It was wasting time. You know, it was very unlike what I know of Croatia, right? I'm also surprised that Guardiola didn't start in this team, by the way. I'm not sure why. Maybe there's a reason. I don't know it. But regardless. But they were holding strong. They were being strong. But I really think that the topic about that first half, and really, I mean, I'm gonna spoil my point, but really, not until he left did you see a difference in the attack, right? Realistically. Um, He could have scored, right? There was a goal that he scored that was narrowly offside. If he scores it, it's a brilliant goal. Beautiful touch, what a chip above the goalkeeper, and a really difficult goal to score. We know he's capable of scoring these type of goals. It's Ronaldo. He's in front of goal, absolutely clinical. Um, but let's get right into it. Why don't we, right? I don't really blame Ronaldo personally. I think this is not on him as much as it is on Martinez. And a lot of people are arguing, "Oh, what's the problem? Who's the problem? What's the problem?" It's a combination of factors, right? But for me, it all starts with Roberto Martinez. I'm sorry, but Roberto Martinez, he seems to be this guy who he has a plan. He goes into it with a plan, and then he has a backup plan with subs, stuff like that, right? And then if things aren't working out, no matter what it is, he's not looking at what's not working out. He just puts his plan B in action, right? Um, Thank God for him that he did take out Ronaldo in this game. I would have been on his case like crazy if, despite the performance, despite the penalty scored that Ronaldo did have in this game, and despite the offside goal that he did have, in fact, that was the sign that he was finally getting the lesson. But which lesson we'll get to in a minute. But it's not normal, the dynamic of this team. I'm sorry. When you look at how Ronaldo played for 80 minutes, it's not normal that he stayed the entire game. And this is purely analyzing the game of a player, trying to ignore the Ronaldo factor as much as we can, looking at how he was doing in this game. There's no way he should have finished this game, right? And I'm very, very, very glad for Portugal and for, my PSG players and Roberto Martinez can breathe for the fact that he did swap out for Ramos, right? Um, but sorry, let me go back here. Here's the thing, right? That concerns me with this game and where I think the problem lied in this game, right? Before we get into the individual performances, right? And I thought there's this guy named Skills on Insta, or at least I follow him on Insta or anything. He's a Portuguese fan, and he talks in English about his Portugal, and he talks about how he talked about how the problem for him was that Ronaldo and Fernandez were always in the same areas. They they were always where let's put it here maybe. Let's put Ronaldo back. Let's say Fernandez, roams around here, right? Ronaldo and a big part of the game was around here, right? Around here, behind the wingers sometimes, too many times behind the wingers, and not enough here, not enough in the box, not attracting the traffic that he should be because he's Ronaldo, right? Even if he's an aging Ronaldo, the fear of the Ronaldo factor is always going to force center backs to pay close attention to you, right? And because you're in the box, you're going to have to put two guys to make sure he doesn't get a chance, right? But he was always here. He was always here asking for the ball, going around, exchanging with a winger from time to time. He was rarely ever in the box, right? And I heard so many people complain about the lack of boxes, lack of ball that Ronaldo was touching during the first game that Portugal played against Congo. But I'm sorry. You can't blame Neves, Vitinha, Fernandez, all these wingers, although these wingers have a lot of blame. You can't blame these guys for not crossing if this guy isn't in the box, right? He's the one who's supposed to be in the box. Nobody else up front in this team can head the ball, can score a goal like a striker, apart from Gonzalo Ramos, right? But because Ronaldo has to play, according to Martinez, that's up to for debate. Then he has to be the solution, right? Let's assume that Ronaldo does have to play. I don't have a massive issue with Ronaldo having to play, but you have to be able to use him to his strengths. I'm sorry. Ronaldo is no longer the player who can combine in tight spaces with a player. In fact, I'm not sure that was ever really his strength or what set him apart from other players in tight spaces to be able to combine with a player like that. That's much like, for example, Messi's much better at that, right? In tight spaces. Ronaldo played in a team that was very physical, right? His prime at Real Madrid fit him perfectly, right? Real Madrid played a really physical style of football, and his game is extremely physical, right? That was his game. The leaps from I don't know how many meters up, right? The heading, the quality, right? Being clinical, and I think also what really made his game is that he was able to do two things at once, really, in a team in a game. He was able to be the striker. So the role of a striker normally, what do we think it is? Like a pure striker, right? It's stay in the box when and attract the defenders when the ball is high up the field and the other team is parking the bus. And you need to be that guy who grabs the scrappy ball, right? It gets deflected, it falls to you, hits the post, it falls to you. A good cross and it falls to you. You're able to, move around, maybe find space. He was the best at doing that, right? But that kind of quality is a physical quality. You know what I'm saying? This is something that you are obviously way better at when you're 27, 30 than when you're 41, right? And not only that, right? That Ronaldo, the Ronaldo that really set himself apart was that also he was able to come in deep and he had a long shot like crazy. So he was able to, perform a move, perform a dribble, and then because he had the physicality to really, really get by his man, he had time to arm a massive shot that would break the net from outside the box, right? That was one of his qualities as well. But at 41, guys, at 41, he can't do that anymore. I don't blame him. Who can possibly blame him? So I'm asking Martinez, why is Ronaldo coming in so deep? And the worst part is because he always asks for the ball at his feet and never behind. And that's the other problem is that his wingers never ever ever made a run in behind. So it wasn't just Ronaldo who should be making a run in behind. He's a nine, guys. He's a nine. He's supposed to be a nine in this team. He's not Dembele. In fact, Dembele does a better job at running in behind than this Ronaldo, right? But Leao always wants the ball at his feet because he always wants the chance to take on his guy one on one. I never really see Leao run behind his defender, right? And it was difficult to do in the first half, right? Croatia were playing really deep. But we get to analyze two phases of the game with two different halves for Portugal, right? The first half was all about, you know, Portugal had possession. They would roam around, roam around, roam around. And the problem was they couldn't find Ronaldo because Ronaldo wanted to be a part of the roaming around of the ball. He wanted to distribute the ball. He wanted to get in the game. He wants to have a touch of the ball so that he can feel comfortable when eventually it does come to him, right? But that's not what he's supposed to do in this team. I'm sorry. He's not. He's got him who can carry the ball. Him who's great at carrying the ball. He can carry the ball like crazy. He always asks for the ball at his feet. So he's never really going to be in a position where if he decides not to dribble, he's going to lose the ball. He'll just pass it back. He's great on the ball. He always passed it back. Always. Never took on his player ever. Ever. We have to have conversations about Pedro Neto, guys. I'm sorry, but we're going to get to that. Everybody here in this team can keep the ball for him, right? All he needs to do is be in the box, annoy the defenders. If he's not the one to score, at least he'll leave space for the other guys to get a long shot off, right? I think he was doing that very well in the first game, right, against Congo. And my issue with that game was actually not Ronaldo, right? I think Ronaldo did the thing that he had to do in that game tactically. I think it was, and again, I really blame Martinez because during that game against Congo, he was completely. I'm sorry, but he looked like the most ordinary player because it was like when you looked at him play, it was like Roberto Martinez was asking him, "Don't take a single risk. You're the guy who holds the ball for us," which he can do, right? But Vitinha is so much more than that. So much more than that. Guys, he scored a hat trick in the Champions League game um against Tottenham, where he scored beautiful goals twice and scored a great penalty after. This guy can dribble past a guy any day of the week, right? And he has an insane pass quality, crazy pass quality, right? The long balls this guy is able to throw from deep is absolutely ridiculous. But what can you do if your wingers don't run? What can you do if your wingers don't run? Let's be honest, right? And if he doesn't run, if your nine doesn't run, there's nobody to pass the ball to. I'm sorry, right? But getting back to the first half. In the first half, we were seeing Mendes be really high, and Mendes, great game, by the way. This to me is how Portugal played in this game, right? And then Cancelo would help out here. Now, if you look at this, right, this looks like a team that has a lot of density in midfield. He's like around everywhere here, right? And who have great technicians and who can keep the ball. And yeah, they did. They moved the ball in that area all around, space to space. But the moment it got to him, and this is the same thing as again after Colombia. The moment it got to Ronaldo, either the game really slowed down, right? Where there was a counterattack and he really slowed down the play because he had to get a couple touches in before passing, or he would pass it backwards when he shouldn't. When she should take a risk. There was a clear chance. I don't remember when in the game it was exactly, but counterattack for Portugal. Obviously these other players aren't that high up, but there's a lot of space here. Leal was running in, Neto's running in. The other guys just did the work defensively. It gets to him, and there's this huge hole in the midfield for Croatia, right? The ball, I think, from I don't remember who gave it to him. I think it might have been Leao here. He gives the ball after getting the ball back to Ronaldo, right? Mendes is making a run over here. Ronaldo gets the ball, a crazy amount of space, right? That pass that Leo gave, because in that section, I think it was like a set piece or something. Croatia was really high up, and Leao passes it to Ronaldo, breaks the line of midfield. The defense can't take a risk and go on him because they can't risk a runner, right? They can't risk anything like that. and there's this huge hole in midfield, right? So he gets the ball. Fernandez is next to him. Crazy amount of space. A guy, he takes forever to touch the ball and turn. In fact, he doesn't turn. He realizes that he missed his touch, and he didn't decide to play it to Fernandez, who was running in that direction first time, and so he plays it back to Diaz while Leao was running here. So he had like double options, right? That for me is the epitome of what Ronaldo does to this team. If you're making him be part of the play, right? Especially on the counter, it makes zero sense, right? He slows everything down, and it's not his fault. He's 41. He doesn't have the same ish that he used to have. He didn't have Ronaldo's game is extremely physical, right? So, and that's what it was. That's what made him so dominant. Even when he did get the ball, right? And he was playing in a prime Real Madrid team that went really, really fast when they had the ball, right? That was their strength. They were the best counter-attacking team in the world, right? Because he was also able to hold up the ball by using his physique, right? He had a good protection of the ball, he had a great touch of the ball, but he was also physical, right? His defenders feared to take him on because they know that if they physically go too much into it, he will resist their, physical attacks and then use his footing to turn around and then run, fast-paced shot, boom, right? But it's not him anymore. It's not him. Of course, it's not him anymore. And people are going to compare to Messi. Listen, guys, some games are more adaptable to playing older than others, right? His strengths were all mostly physical, right? That's what set him apart from other players. His physical attributes, right? His ability to leap, his ability to protect the ball in high pressure, right? Now, his footing was great, right? He was a genius footballer, Ronaldo, but it wasn't necessarily what was making him the best in the world, especially, late in the game, right? When he first started, obviously, like Ronaldo, but that is like the way that Ronaldo dribbled, it was all physical, right? It was like, turn of pace, it was acceleration, it was that kind of thing, right? Mbappe is gonna have the same problem when he's that age, right? Um, so not being able to use your physical attributes when you're 41 as well as you could when you were 30 makes complete sense. Which again doesn't mean to me necessarily that he has to be off the team, but he has to be in there, right, in the position where his current game is best used. His physical attributes that he used to have, they're not there anymore. Okay? If you want to put him on, first of all, you're sacrificing pressing, which is, I think, a problem. But you have to keep him here, guys. You have to keep him here. Make him move in and around the box, right? Let him keep annoying the players. But the problem is he can't move as much as he used to, right? Like when you're a striker, especially in a team that had the ball, which Portugal did, right? And you're in that kind of team, you have to like move all the time, right? You have to be annoying for the defenders, right? You have to move around, make them tired, follow you all the time, out tire them, right? Sorry, like out the opposite of that, right? Like you have to make sure they are completely tired and that you're completely fine. But that's a physical attribute yet again, right? So I'm not gonna go too long into this. I already have gone too long into this, but I'm sorry if you want to have Ronaldo in this team, use him correctly and sacrifice the fact that he's not going to be the best player when it comes to the play of Portugal, but he's going to be the finisher. He's going to be the clinical finisher. And it's all people who love Ronaldo need from him, right? A lot of people who love Ronaldo today will be happy because he scored a goal. He scored a penalty. And that's great, right? Use that. Use that. Score your goals. How are you can't score your goals from here anymore, dude. Let the other people. He has a crazy shot on him. He has an insane shot on him. He has an insane shot on him. He has a really, really good left foot. And then surprise, surprise, right? Surprise, surprise. Ronaldo gets subbed off. Ramos comes on. And before that, I think Vitinha came off as well. Surprise, surprise, 5 minutes later, crossed into the box. He's in the box because he's doing the role of a number nine and goal, right? And he's physically in his prime. So he beat two defenders who were like right on him to score, right? Now, it wasn't just Ronaldo, right? Let's look at this again. I feel like I'm watching. You know who I feel like I'm watching right now? I feel like I'm watching Leroy Sané. Leroy Sané, the guy with crazy speed, good tech on the ball, really solid. He's way more solid than him, right? But this guy's like fast. I will say his hustle, right? Like he came to defend, great stuff, right? But he never took on his a defender once. Once, and he had so many chances to. It's not like he was always being pressed by two guys. I'm telling you, he was making runs all the time. So the fact that he never that Pedro Neto never ever took his man on is a problem. And I'm sorry. At least so he had a horrible game, right? He had a great assist on that goal. That kind of saves his performance a little bit. Um, but for me, right, at least he tried to attack his opponent, right? He tried to attack. He failed, but he tried, right? He was being a nuisance. You kept trying, kept trying, kept trying. And that was what this Portugal team needed, right? They needed somebody, they needed a winger to get through, create a chance, right? Have a scrappy chance for Ronaldo to kick in, right? And they couldn't do that. They couldn't do that, right? I will say, to defend their case, it's harder to get through that many people when you don't have a striker in the box to occupy the defenders if you do get past the right back or left back, right? So I think this is where the incoherence lies. I will say before I go anywhere further, right? I'm talking a lot about Portugal, but Croatia were the better team today, right? That first half was more Portugal because it didn't really feel like Croatia wanted to attack too much, but in that second half, it was different. The moment they got the ball, they got forward, they were dangerous. I thought at the beginning of the half it was little less than after Vitinha came off, right? I think Vitinha gives you a control of the game. He also made a lot of he got a lot of balls back today. Obviously him as well, but he stayed on the field. I do think ultimately the fact that he left the field made this team more vulnerable on the counterattack, which is why they conceded all those chances late in the game, Portugal. I will say, like, there was also this aspect of, they were losing 1-0, they had to attack, they had to sacrifice stuff, they had to go for it. Um, Croatia played a much better second half than the first. They were the best. They were their second half was way better than Portugal's first by far. They were solid, they were strong, they were playing positive. They scored like I don't know how many times and how many times did it get, canceled for offsides or whatever. Um, yeah, I feel bad for Modric. I think we all knew that this Croatia team didn't have it in them to go all the way. But I feel bad nonetheless. You don't want to see one of your stars go out this early. But it was either him or him, right? So it was gonna be cruel either way. It's cruel for Croatia on this game because they deserve to go through more than Portugal, in my opinion. They were a lot braver, a lot stronger, a lot smarter in this game. Um, and they were really, really unlucky, right? Two offside goals today, one penalty call, and let's talk about that. All right, so my friends seem to think, and this is their opinion, that I don't know the name of the players, I don't know who grabs who, right? But the Croatian defender grabs onto I think maybe it was him, grabs onto Vega, right? And he is grabbing onto him enough where he can apply force that would stop his jump, right? And that was inhibit his jump, let's say. Now, I argued for the which game was it? Where I think it was the Germany game where the Paraguayan goalkeeper got, you know, blocked in a soft way as well, like this one. But here's the reason why I think the goalie foul is a foul and the foul on him today isn't. Goalies have to be treated differently for set pieces, right? Goalies use their entire body as part of their game, right? They use their arms, they use their upper chest, they use everything, right? If you prohibit a goalie from using his hands, it's a problem, right? And I think for the when the way I want to see set pieces happen is I really want to see the goalkeeper not being like strangled by three, four people, right? I think goalies have to be protected during set pieces, but I think we've all accepted, and I like that we've accepted that there's a lot of contact in between outfield players in the box, right? And that's fair, right? As long as you don't push, you don't apply force to your opponent that makes him stop, doing whatever he's doing. If it was a goal, if it was a, goal opportunity, I think that's not what happened with him today. I think today he realized, so he was gonna jump. I think he realized that he got touched very, very slightly, right? I think there was no pull, no holding of the shirt, no tugging. I understand his arm is around him, right? But his arm isn't stopping him from moving. At least that's what I think, right? And so he then realizes the ball is too high. He's not going to be, he might touch it, but he'll get under it at best, right? He won't be able to bring the ball down, right? The ball has to come at least here for you to be able to bring it down when it's coming up like that, right? So, with that much power, especially. So I think after that, he realizes that he feels something and he falls. And I don't understand this call. I don't understand why the VAR called the referee. I especially don't understand. I feel okay. I'm okay with the VAR calling the referee for that kind of scenario where it's a little 50-50, right? I have an opinion. My friends had a different one, right? For example. But but I still don't understand after reviewing the VAR, reviewing the footage, how the referee does give that penalty. I think it's a scandal. I think it's a horrible penalty to give. And I'm talking as a person who today wanted to see, not Ronaldo, but Portugal go through. I want to see these guys excel. These guys excel. This guy excel. This guy excel. And I love Bruno Fernandes as well. I want to see him do well, right? But um, I don't want to see them win like that, right? I understand that Portuguese people won't care. That's not my agenda, right? I don't care about Portugal. I just care about my PSG players doing well. And now he's no longer a PSG player, unfortunately. I love this guy, but I'm super happy for him that he got his winner. That is a great story. I love that for him. But for me, like if you look at these players, right? If you look at these players, all of these players, a lot of them are playing in really, really high level, right? I don't know how good he is, but like, sorry, my point is, all of these players, you look at them and you're like, they're better at club level than they are in the national team because of their coach, who does not know how to use them. I don't know what his level is like with Porto, but you can't possibly reproach how good he is in goal. I haven't really seen him do well with City, so we'll take him out. But he's in a way better position when with Barcelona. He plays way better. Let's not talk about the three PSG guys. Although today, Nuno Mendes had a sensational game. He was carrying these guys in the first half completely, and he was the only one really creating danger until Ronaldo left in this side in the second half, right? He is Wow, Portugal, you guys are lucky to have this guy. Without Nuno Mendes today, you guys are going home. I'm sorry. You guys are going home today. It's all him. It's all him. He was playing for three people today. Because not only he coming back defending like crazy, like we know he can do, but he was the only one making runs in behind on this wing because Leao was never doing it. And Leao this game, I'm sorry, but you know. So he was good. I thought he was really good. I don't see how he plays with Villarreal, but he was really good today. I thought he was really, really good, really solid, really strong. I thought he was, decent, had his game. He was trying to really show like something in the first half, right? I think he got frustrated after a while that nothing was happening, and he started taking a little bit more responsibility. And I thought he was one of the better players in the first half for Portugal, which was a really bad half for Portugal, despite the fact that they were having the ball and were not conceding many chances, right? But I think that was more up to Croatia than it was up to Portugal. João Neves really, for me, he struggled in the first half because um he didn't have any runners to give the ball to, and he in that situation will always pass it back. Not he's not the guy who will dribble people, Joao Neves, right? So um, he just circulated it around. He did have one bad pass at some point in the first half, which was, a little bad, but second half he was a lot better, right? A lot better because Croatia were going up more, so his game became a lot more obvious, right? He recuperated ball after ball after ball after ball. He got the ball back so many times for this team high up the field. Um, and he, had a Vitinha-like game. I thought that in the first half it was, well, Vitinha-like game for Portugal, right? He, knew how to keep the ball. He knew how to, drive it around. That's clearly what Roberto Martinez is asking of him, and he's doing it really well. He's the best in the world at doing it. But he can do more than that. So let him do more, right? Let him do more. Let him go up. Let him like Vitinha has the ball. I don't think I've ever seen a guy with the ball so close to his feet when he dribbles as Vitinha, right? He's a tiny player. His legs are like running super fast. And so the ball's always next to him, right? You feel like it's glued to his feet, right? Um, and so he with that style of, walking around the field, he'll do like a turn around the player and then keep going, right? He's really capable of from that position with his really safe approach with the ball to go up the field, go. In fact, pass players even get a shot off, get a pass off. But that's not what they were asking of him today. They were just asking him to be the guy to get the ball back or help get the ball back. When we're pressed, give it to Vitinha. Vitinha will calm the game and so on and so on. But you have to let Vitinha decide the pace of the game. And I feel like Roberto Martinez tells him, don't, no, I want your slow register, right? I don't want your fast register, which Luis Enrique can exploit a lot better than Roberto Martinez can. And it's so sad, right? Because Luis Enrique gave you a blueprint of how to use Nuno Mendes, Vitinha, and Joao Neves together. And you have a team to make it work around that, right? These three with Hakimi are the base of the play of PSG, and it's the best play of the world, right? They can handle three different things at once each, right? But it all dies when these two are together, right? These two are together. In the end of the day, that's still the same problem. He was doing well at giving the ball to Bruno, but Bruno didn't have anybody to pass it to. He didn't have anybody to pass it to. He didn't have anybody to pass it to. Ronaldo only was an option when he was really down on the field, and so they had way less area to deal with. And when Trincao came on, where is he? Well, not Trincao, Conceição, sorry. When he came on, he made runs in behind. When when Gonzalo Ramos came on, he made runs in behind, right? Um, then there were passes to give, like Ruben Neves after he came on had a fantastic pass to give to Conceição that created a chance, right? And it was like that again and again and again and again and again, right? This time in the second half, especially, Croatia were going at you. They were pressing you, right? This is not this was not the second half. This was not Croatia just parking the bus. First half, yes. Second half, no, right? So. It's Martinez. I'm sorry, guys. It's Martinez. That'll be my conclusion. Martinez deciding to let Ronaldo try his Ronaldo-like things when he was 30 doesn't make sense anymore. I do want to talk quickly about Spain, who won. That was actually the score I predicted. Um, Convincing, really convincing. They're very good at blocking counters, right? They're very good there. I thought the highlights for me today were Pedri. I thought Yamal had a good few moments. I thought he was insane, actually, Pedro Porro. In fact, for this national team, I think he's doing great job. Great job, right? Um, and then I thought Cucurella was the man of the match. I thought Pedri was really good, but I think Cucurella and Pedri, that combination is deadly, man. And it scares the crap out of me, I'm not gonna lie. But really good by Spain. So that was pretty much it. That was my thoughts on Portugal and that crazy game against Croatia. Let me know what you think in the comments if you agree with my tactical analysis of where I think this Portugal team is wrong and how, where more importantly, I think Roberto Martinez is wrong. And when are we going to start having conversations about this guy ruining golden generations? Because this is becoming absolutely silly. All right, guys, see you next time.